Shalom. I'll start by giving all the praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Chakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone who rule well, and as always, peace and salutations to the lawful elect tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Now, sometimes it's funny seeing these Christians make the same repeated mistakes, over and over concerning certain passages in the scriptures. And, they normally would take certain scriptures, especially in the Old Testament, and they don't even have a thorough understanding of what they're bringing out, but they'll go there just to try to, you know, make certain scriptures fit the narrative that they're trying to come with, and they fail every time. Now, I'm not sure who this guy is, but he calls himself, challenging, the fact that natural Gentiles can't be saved, and he even put up a compilation of different various One West groups, basically stating that fact. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a longer video. Maybe he further expounds on it. Maybe he further goes in and makes his point as to why he believes, that the natural Gentiles can make it. But in this little clip right here, there was nothing in this video that actually supports his argument or even disproves what we say concerning the Gentiles being saved or receiving salvation. All right, but this is what he does try to use to say that the Gentiles actually have a shot at salvation. And he goes into the same mistake that they always make when they try to go and use the law where it talks about the stranger. All right, and I'm gonna play the clip so you can listen to him, and we just gonna hit the same scripture so you can decipher between the truth and the error. You Christians, you've been in error, for hundreds of years. All right, you don't have the truth, or the real truth that have been without fruit is now being declared. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna let him, go into it, and then we'll get understanding.
Right in the New Testament.
Hold on, let me adjust the audio real quick. All right, let's go.
No. Let's look at let's go to the Torah and see if Gentiles were able to become a part of Israel and partake of the Passover and other laws in the Torah. Since these guys say Gentiles are not, salvation is not for them. In Leviticus 19:33 to 34, it says, "And if a stranger dwells with you in your land, you shall not mistreat him. The stranger who dwells among you shall be to you as one born among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." It's very clear that there should be no partiality, and Israel was to love a foreigner living in their land as themselves. And then again in the Torah.
Now the fact when him bringing that precept out or that law out, he don't even realize he cut himself by bringing that out. Because what was the key thing that was said in that law? Thou shalt love him as thyself. All right, where else is that phrase uh, mentioned in the law? Let's go real quick to in that same chapter, Leviticus 19 and 17. Yeah, I'm gonna start there. Leviticus 19 and 17. It says, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people." And this is the law to the children of Israel. All right. So your neighbor is the children of your own people, the sons and daughters of your kindred, your kin. All right. "But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord." All right. So your neighbor is your fellow Israelite. Okay, so that's who you're to love as yourself. Okay, so that means what? That you're gonna have Israelites that were gonna be strangers at some point, because they were not all Israel were gonna be living in the land, in the promised land. Okay, you had Israelites that migrated, you had Israelites that were scattered, that were outcasted, so they went and lived in other areas outside of the land. Okay, so getting in reading the scripture, Leviticus 19:33 says, and if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, you shall not vex him. Now, this is why important it's important to look up these words. Or what Hebrew word is being used for stranger in this passage. I'm sure the word there is gar. And of course, that's exactly what is there. All right, gar. And if you go to the definition, a sojourner, somebody that temporarily, you know, uh, uh, is staying there. All right, a temporary state, a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights of foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. Okay, and just to give you a scenario, an example, you know, we have in our law where it says that three times out of the year, your males are supposed to appear in Jerusalem. They're supposed to report in the mainland when they keep these solemn feasts. Deuteronomy 16:16. And it says, 3 times in the year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy power in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. And this is a law to the children of Israel. So all the men 3 times out of the year are supposed to report to Jerusalem for these three feasts. So that means what? That these men, these males that would have to come back to the land to keep the feast. That means that they were living in other areas. Okay, they were actually permanent inhabitants of other lands. And when they would come back to Jerusalem, they would stay there for a temporary uh, period of time. All right, they'd be there and lodge there, and they would keep the feast, and then they would head back to their wherever land that they lived. You see, like, just to bring it to today's terms, I live in Vegas, right? I got brothers in basically almost every state in Babylon. If I so happened that something came up where I had to work a job or I had to go do something for family or whatever the case may be in another state, and it just so happened around that time that I have to make that move, a high holy day comes up. All right, the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Passover. But guess what? When I leave and I head to that particular state, I don't actually live in that state. I'm just temporarily there. So that means that when I get over there, I'm linking up with brothers to keep this high holy day, you know, and that means that I'm going to temporarily be in that state for the time being. And then once it's up, I leave and head back. I get what I need done after I've done that, and then I leave and head back where I live, which is here in Vegas. Okay, so when I come, to that particular state, them brothers, they welcome me with arms open. They treat me as a brother. They treat me as if I'm a part of that camp. I live there and all that, man. And that's how it is in every state. So this stranger is obviously talking about another fellow Israelite. You're not supposed to treat him like he's a heathen because he does not dwell in the same land as you. Okay, he's still your fellow brother because he's an Israelite. All right, now let's get another example. Let's go to the New Testament in Acts when they came together for the Feast of Pentecost. You'll see that all these Jews were actually strangers. Acts 2 verse 5, it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue wherein we were born, Parthians and Medes and Elamites and dwellers in Mesopotamia. I show you that you had Jake all over. There was a diaspora of Jews. Not all Jews lived in Judea. It says, and in Judea and in Cappadocia and in Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, in Egypt and in parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians. We do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of the Most High. And these were all Israelites. These were all Jews. Okay, so these were strangers that came to Jerusalem to keep the Feast of Weeks. All right, the Feast of First Fruits, the Feast of Pentecost. You could call it either one. All right, and when they came there, they were temporary inhabitants. Okay, they were just dwelling there for the sake of the feast. All right, so that's an example. So this law that you tried to go into, that that wasn't the fuel that you needed to actually combat or dispute the fact that the natural Gentiles can be saved. It's like you can't be saved. All right. This right here, you actually cut yourself. All right, because an actual heathen can't eat of the Passover. All right, now let's go to that scripture too. We always go into this as well because there's a difference in stranger. There's Acts. I said Acts. Exodus 12. Yeah, Exodus 12 verse 43. It says, "And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, and thou hast circumcised them, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof." Okay, so right here it says that a stranger can't even eat. All right, now let's look up that word stranger, and you'll see that is a different word. All right, nakar. See, so it uses another Hebrew word, but when you go down to verse 48. Is a different type of stranger. It says Exodus 12 and 48, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Now let's see what what word is this for stranger. Gar. See? So this argument, we've dealt with this, numerous times. So that's why I said it's funny when these Christians continue to use this same flawed argument, the same repeated mistakes over and over. This at all does not disprove that the Gentiles can't be saved. Not at all. All right. So, I just wanted to keep it simple, man. I don't even have to, go any further. But I happened to catch this, and I was curious to see what he was going to say, and him going into this verse to try to use that argument. That's, I mean, we got to put you got y'all going to have to put that to rest, man. You know. So anyway, hopefully this was edifying. We give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Until the next lesson, Shalom.